Hello everyone, Tibbers here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Today I am joined by the incomparable SirSmirkz as we are interviewing Maxotron, aka Max Voidcore over on X. They are a character designer and developer over at Mob Entertainment, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview. Max, thank you so much for, agreeing to do this interview with SirSmirkz and I today. I truly appreciate it. But before we, start asking you questions, I just want to give a moment for both you and SirSmirkz to introduce yourselves and also let us know your pronouns.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time. If you don't know, I am Max. I used to go by Megan, or Megatron for those who knew me in the Poppy Playtime server. After we moved to Slack, I kind of stopped being active in the Discord server. But my pronouns are they, them, and I am now Maxotron.
Damn, no Megatron. I just watched Transformers 1 too.
I'm such a big Transformers fan, but let's introduce yourself first, SirSmirkz, huh?
Yeah. Hello, I'm SirSmirkz, partner and beta tester for Mob Games, and I like a bunch of horror stuff. So, yeah, that's it.
Oh my god, I completely forgot to say what I do. Perfect interview. Just I'm perfect at these things, guys. But yeah, no, I'm the character concept artist at Mob.
That's so
I've been
awesome.
there since like January of 2023, like right at the end of pre-production for chapter 3.
Dang, that's really cool to know. Well, diving right in then, I want to go back in time and I want to talk about inspiration. What inspired you to become an artist?
Oh man, I mean, where do I even begin? My journey's been so long. I initially, when I was just a wee little lass, I used to watch things like Aliens, Tremors. There are a couple of R-rated movies my grandma would rent me from the local Blockbuster, and I was just a very messed up kid. And of all things I wanted to draw, what really got me apparently in the drawing game as a little kid was Barbies, of all things. I just kept drawing my Barbie dolls as whatever telenova drama I was watching at the time. And that then eventually progressed into going to art school and then art college in 2013 to 2015. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design and in Savannah, Georgia, and I graduated in 2018. During that time, I was doing a lot of conventions, and I even worked 3 years as an animation producer before I just really wanted to go into the game industry. And that's that's how I ended up finding myself at Mob, really. My big inspirations always go back to those horror films I used to watch. And I really love drawing monsters as a result now.
That's so cool to learn just because, like, I also had the same thing growing up where my mom was like, literally, you would only watch scary movies. Your favorite was Beetlejuice, and we went through 15 VHS copies. And so she was like, you were just always a strange one. So I resonate with that a lot. And also, really cool that you went to SCAD.
Yes, a funny motto at SCAD. Their motto is sleep comes after death. And I definitely felt that with their 24-hour studios that I would just stay up all night working on animations while I was there.
Oh, wow.
I quickly found out I hate doing 2D animation and I would rather, work on video games.
I love
I
that.
mean, video games are cooler.
I feel that. Oh man. Another little tidbit about me. I also was an avid gamer growing up. I was a World of Warcraft baby. Played it from when I was the age of 8 to the age of like 16 until my mom just like perma blocked me from using World of Warcraft because I had a legit addiction.
Oh, no.
But after that, I went on to RuneScape. So
I
I don't know
started with
how much.
RuneScape.
Yeah, I don't know how she fixed it, but
For World of Warcraft straight to RuneScape. So what's the difference?
oh man. Well, first off, I'm not dancing as a minor in Goldshire Inns. Uh, Definitely a big difference there. And then also, going from 3D to like a top-down pixel 3D was definitely a big difference.
Oh, those were the days.
And I also mentioned my mom would mine gold and sell it online.
Huh?
Yeah,
In RuneScape?
in RuneScape, in Neopets, in World of Warcraft, and
Oh, Neopets.
she owned and sold land in Second Life.
I'm
That's
just,
actually insane. What?
I'm just,
It's kind of cool.
I'm just feeling my age now because you mentioned Neopets, and I'm like, that's what I was doing when I was 12.
Remember when they had toys?
Oh,
Oh
just aged
gosh,
you up right there.
for real, for real.
All right. Got any other questions for me? It will.
All right, interview's over. Maxotron. Is Poppy Playtime the first video game that you ever worked on? No, I messed up. My tongue. It tied. Okay, question here is Poppy Playtime the first video game that you've worked on, let alone as a character designer for?
So I did work on a game, or not game, but I worked as an animation producer previously over for a YouTuber who our project never got published, but I worked 3 years on that doing character design for him, as well as comics and animation. So I've had character design experience previously, like professionally, I should say, because past that, I had only ever done it for freelance, doing commissions on Twitter and Tumblr. I used to be quite the popular artist, I should say, before Tumblr exploded and traversed its way to Twitter. I used to have 10K followers, and then I deleted my account.
Oh,
And then I remade my account on Twitter, and then I deleted it again because I got bored. And so that there I had went from 10K and then I went from 5K and now I'm at a crisp 200 on Twitter because I'm just so bad at posting stuff online.
I hear that. Would you find yourself mostly drawing like any specific like themes?
Fan art. A lot of fan art. I have hyperfixations from Transformers to Team Fortress 2, the Lego movie. Villainous was a big one for a while. Uh, I did a lot of fan art for those characters, which, when you do fan art, it's easy to get followers. Original stuff, I've done some original things, though I try to lean away from doing too much of that because I'm just horribly inconsistent at doing any comic posting. As much as my husband would love me to do comics, it's just I know myself and I am not doing that anytime soon.
Well, variety is always a good thing in my book, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
I second that. So before becoming an artist, did you have any other life plans, or did you know that this is what you wanted to do as a career?
I had a coming to art moment in high school where originally I had wanted to be a veterinarian or like a zoologist. But then in the midst of going through personal life like issues, I found escapism through art in high school. And then at some point, I realized, hey, I'm actually good at this. I can make money doing this. Let alone, I was taking all of the art classes at my high school at the time that they literally had to make two new art classes for me just so I could finish my senior year. So I definitely went into college knowing what I wanted to do, though that definitely was a little bit, how could you say, ambitious of me, because a lot of the times art jobs are one in a million, and it comes down to who do you know in the industry? And they really don't tell you that in college. They really pump air up your butt, so to say, just to get you through art college. And then all too quickly in your senior year, you realize, oh, there aren't actually a lot of jobs for what I want to do. They pay well, but they're all taken up by veterans in the industry. It's something that's been reflected among many of my colleagues. It's just like, yep, you need experience to get these jobs, but to get experience, you need to work. But to work, you need experience.
It's the unfortunate job cycle.
Yep.
And not just with being an artist, it's prevalent in any type of jobs, even what I do as cybersecurity. Just to get where I was, I had to start it off at the very bottom. But no, I resonate with that a lot, with what you were saying about discovering it in high school, because I always knew that I wanted to go into music and theater when I was a young kid, but I had a moment of just being told, you're not gonna succeed at this, you're not gonna do it. So I veered off of that path, and that's where I'm at now. But I'm happy in these stages of my life that I'm able to actually make music and stuff now, because I'm in a position that I can do that. So I resonate a lot with what you said there.
Yeah, heck yeah.
You already talked a little bit about films. I'm very curious about what works of art and cartoons specifically and also inspired you in your creativity.
Oh man. I mean, classic, Ghibli films were super ripe for my generation on just terms of inspiration and like world building and story making. So that's just a clear inspiration right there. Oh, I really did delve really far into both the Aliens and Transformers genres as well. There's a recent, not recent, but there is a whole comic series called More Than Meets the Light, which is just gay, fantastical Transformers. It'll make you cry because they're constantly killed off, but just it's more than meets the eye. And it's that kind of world building that really inspired me to go to characters and be like, what is this character? Like, how do they exist in this world? You can make someone look cool, fancy, but why do they look like this? Like, why are they holding a katana and why do they have this scar on that hand? Why do they hold it in a certain position? What is their viewpoint on life? Were they a troubled child who, like, what does that even mean to them at this point? And that also just heightened even further with like recently with Dungeons and Dragons too. Like the creative output of everyone just going into that just increased tenfold because now you're able to easily make your own campaigns and stories using all these like campaigns and assets that everyone else has made. And it's just a very cool community to kind of find yourself in nowadays.
That is so cool to hear about. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Specific artists you'd have to come back to me on because surprisingly, I don't. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I know my artists." Me, I don't know other artists. I scroll through Twitter, I see some cool posters, and I'm like, "Yep, you're cool." At most, the only artist I remember is he worked on World of Warcraft as an artist. Trent Canigua, I believe is how you say his name. But he has a YouTube series, and just the way he renders things and puts idea to paper, I just strive to be like that. And obviously, working on World of Warcraft would be a dream job.
Hmm. I'll definitely just check out some of his work after this.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a ton of following, but my God, just watching him draw, you see like he just knows what he's doing.
If you're listening, go follow Trent right now.
He
Do it.
makes it look effortless.
I'm just looking over a couple of things that I found from him. It's so detailed and it's so you could tell that he's paid attention to every single like inch. Lots of
Yeah,
passion just poured into this.
because There's 2D artists who view things on a canvas, and then there's 2D artists who view things in a three-dimensional plane. So you have a character, but the heightened part of that is knowing how that character is standing in that 3D world. And he just so effortlessly makes these characters look like they're just pulled out of like thin air. Oh, I can't even begin to explain how much I adore his art.
There's so much cool stuff here. It's like everything has a purpose. Like you said, like he already made the world in his head, and you could just tell by all the dynamic poses and all the details and each single landscape and character that he makes. Just right off the bat, too.
He's also wild in the sense that most artists will do a sketch and then they'll make that sketch a ghost layer and they'll draw over that sketch a couple times. He just takes the sketch and he just cleans it up from there into a final piece just by erasing and just adding more onto it as he goes.
That's really
That's
cool.
interesting. What do you enjoy most about the world of Poppy Playtime, and what also drew you into it in the first place?
So my Poppy Playtime journey, part of it was luck and part of it was, oh, I know of this genre and my style works in this genre. Might as well check out the video game because they're hiring. It also was lucky of me because I happened to be in St. Louis and this is a St. Louis based company. So I saw this as a chance of, if I'm going to get in the game industry, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Because most game studios, they might say they're hiring like out of state. 9 times out of 10, they're going to choose someone in state before they pick someone out of state.
Hmm.
And you could kind of feel that with Mob as well because they were all in person and they weren't going remote yet. So they were definitely looking at candidates closer to Missouri. And so just quickly overnight, I looked up what exactly Mob does, which is funny because everyone always says this about Mob, especially relatives of mine. It's just like, oh, I didn't know they made Poppy Playtime. It's like, you know what Poppy Playtime is, but you don't necessarily recognize that Mob is the studio behind it. And so I was like, oh, I remember watching this game. I remember Jacksepticeye and Markiplier playing it. Totally be down to work for this company, if they'll have me, was the big question at the time. Like, will they have me? So I applied in the month of December, and a whole month had gone by before I heard anything back because I think they went through different recruiting people at the time. So I thought I just hadn't gotten the job, and apparently my coworker Robert went through the same thing. But then all of a sudden, I'm just called and pretty much made an offer on the spot to come work for the company. And I was just like, that's some good money. Obviously, though, it's good money for Missouri. So I'm not a millionaire, guys. I'm not a millionaire. Wait. But going back to what I kind of enjoyed most about Poppy Playtime when I got hired, really what that first chapter stood out to me so much when I watched it being played through by Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. Like, Amber is a mommy simp all day, but I'm a huggy simp. Like, the way they executed that hint, that foreshadowing at horror, and just the sound design. I'm a big sucker. I'm a big sucker for sound design because sound design, I feel, makes or breaks a lot of horror genres. Like, especially in monster horror games, if you show the monster right ahead of time, like, it's spoiled for the rest of the game. You have to build up that sense of anticipation for it to actually make an impact. So, like, Poppy Playtime did it in a smart way where you see the monster, but it's not moving. So you don't know it's the monster until it disappears. And then you're like, oh shit, how does this thing move? How is it going to come back? And then you get that sense of anticipation as you're waiting for it to, basically jump at you for the rest of the game. And another piece of media that I like to reference when it comes to sound design is Alien Isolation is such a good horror game, and just the way they do subtle jump scares that just get you more and more antsy, more and more anxious until you get to the pinnacle of what it is that's supposed to scare you. And they executed that in chapter 1 so well.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, we wouldn't be here if chapter 1 wasn't so good at what it did.
Yeah.
And the payoff is that giant vent chase, and that was just very, like, beautifully animated, scared so many people.
It
Yeah,
did.
and it feels short, but with how much like emotion you're going through, it doesn't feel that short, like you're
Yeah.
actually sweating. When you play it through the first time, you're like, wait, please. You don't know where the paths are going. You don't know there's a set path you're supposed to do. And it's all panic.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out what to do in the midst of like panic and things shutting in your face, different routes opening up, giant snarling monster running behind you. I absolutely hate being chased in horror games. If I
Mhm.
played chapter 1, it wouldn't matter to me anymore, but it probably would kick in again just because of how, cool that scene is, but I totally know what you mean by all the Alien Isolation stuff, because I haven't beaten that game, because not only is it too long, but I am I cannot be chased by the
I
xenomorph. I will freak out every time.
I cannot play it myself. I have to watch others play it and revel in their misery. Because I know the moment I picked it up, I would just throw the controller and be like, Eat me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving from my spot. Just eat me."
I'm the same. I just hide in the corner with the flamethrower, like I'm waiting. You have like the lifeless looking androids too. I can't.
Yeah,
I had
so good.
that moment in chapter 3 of Poppy, when we're doing the first nightmare sequence, and you get to the player's, what I assume is the player's office, and you're standing there, and I remember playing it the first time. I'm like, chat, I cannot turn around. There's going to be something behind me. And I physically was unable to do it until someone was like, you need to do this, otherwise the game's not going to continue. And so I did, and nothing was there, and I just freaked myself out for no reason. But again, that's the art of storytelling. It's the art of design, especially the sound design. Because I agree with you. I think Poppy definitely has one of the top tier sound design teams, because it's phenomenal. And the other one that I think of when I think of sound design is definitely Bendy. Bendy does a phenomenal job at that, because the
Oh
constant
yeah.
hearing of the ink machine in the background, it's so unsettling. It just kind of also blends into the background, but you also know that it's there, and you can kind of hear that slight heartbeat coming from it too. And I just it's so good, so good.
Just peak sound design.
It really does help. I mean, you can't have a proper horror setting or let alone game without it. The next question, outside of Poppy Playtime, is there a art piece that you've created that is your absolute favorite?
Oh man. It probably has to go to Project Playtime. I mean, there was this poster series. Oh man. You remember when the Project Playtime the Forge released, right? And there's
Yeah.
this cool cinematic, the doctor's just like, death becomes human. No. I forgot the exact words, but he was all serious, and that really inspired me to just create this piece that was just, it featured like the steampunk set, and it was like a player falling back into the forge
Oh
with
yeah.
like Foxy jumping towards you. That I feel that is like one of my piece de resistance, like I really enjoyed making a poster to just kind of capture that feeling.
Yeah. This poster was legit one of my favorite pieces that came out during chapter 2. It was phenomenal. I tried jumping in the furnace after I saw this, and until I realized it was all blocked off, and I kind of cried a bit, but it I just love how it like it adds a story that obviously you can't really experience in game, but it kind of just expands upon the ideas of like just the cool moments that could happen in like a world like Poppy Playtime. And this was, yeah, definitely one of my favorite things to come. I think I actually used this loading screen for like a month or two. It
Yeah,
was pretty
I
damn good.
loved making the little lava bits at the bottom, as well as on top of that, like Forge poster. One of my favorite pieces is also the very first cosmetic I made at Mob, because when we were first hired on, we were just working on cosmetics for Project Playtime. And my very first cosmetic I made was the tree Huggy Wuggy.
Oh, so you are the one I have to thank for that.
Yep, I made Tree Huggy Wuggy. I made Clown Boxy Boo. I made Marshmallow Huggy. There's quite a bit, a few of them I made.
That tree one was so unsettling the first time I saw it. It freaked me out. So tell me more about your art or character design process, because I'm curious to know where you start. Like, for example, when it comes to me when I'm crafting a song, it's usually inspired by a deep thought or a moment that I've seen or something that I'm feeling emotionally that translates into a chord progression.
To ask you a question, what do you think entails character design? Like, where do you think it comes from? You think I just pull it out of my butt?
For some artists, yes, because they're just so talented and they have so many thoughts in their brain that they are able to just formulate those very easily. So I think for some people, yeah, that they can absolutely do that. But I think for others, it also comes from that, having the information, having the setting, having the background, and then you're able to kind of like mentally visualize what you want to create.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely when you work at a studio, character design just becomes a whole nother type of design. Because when you're creating on your own, you're creating what you want to make. When you're working for a studio, you have to create what your boss wants, what your CEO, what your director wants. There's a level of artistic eye and also artistic selling that you have to do to get what you want. Because at the same time, you might also just end up getting nothing that you wanted, but you still have to draw it and you still have to deliver it. Explaining more of that, the process of that at a studio, first, obviously, we're given a design from either narrative or just straight up from like a CEO. They say, hey, I want a cat that is in a suit and can stand up or be on all fours. And we go, okay, that's interesting. What kind of theme, what kind of aesthetic do you want? We start asking them questions because they might tell us they want a square, but that square could be yellow, it could be blue, it could be red, and all those things have different underlying meanings. You make a red square. Oh, it's an angry square. And then you end up with anger from inside out, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so we start filling out those pieces of information that we need to properly execute our design. Because the last thing we want to do is told they want a square, and then we design a box, but really they wanted a rectangle, you know? So after we get that information, that's when we start plugging in what is the design process. I start putting in the elements of design that I think fit the best. And usually I'm very particular about this because I also like things looking good. And if something doesn't look good, people will know my opinion.
Mhm.
I am very polite in giving that opinion, but sometimes I make sure things are artistically done to 100% rather than, 50%. Usually that entails going onto Pinterest, going around Twitter, just searching what other people have done for a square. You know, like who's made a square object head, who's made this, who's made that. We do a lot of research, especially because a character design at a studio now has to become part of a brand, part of an IP. It has to be copyrighted.
Mhm.
Like you can't just make a design because someone else might have made like 10 of those designs. You know, you have to do your research. So part of it is honestly doing research for a good week and then coming in with your initial sketches, hoping this is what fit the information you were able to gather from the assignee. And sometimes they change their mind. Sometimes you're right on the mark, and sometimes they decide to scrap it. And then you're just on to the next design, which usually entails months and months of review if it's moved forward. I think a lot for like, oh man, I can't talk about how many iterations I've done of chapter 4 characters, but when I was working on the end of previs for chapter 3, like I had to squish and stretch and mess around with Catnap's spine so much. Like we spent a whole month just debating on whether or not his spine would stick out of his fur.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because we also weren't able to accurately render fur to what it would look like on a 3D model because we were changing our like fur engine at the time. So we had to try and duplicate that from a 2D viewpoint. And my God, I've never hated drawing fur more than I did then.
I'm glad that you all went with the spine protruding though, because it definitely gives it a more horror effect, and I think it fits him.
Yeah. Are there any other questions you had about the design process, or did that kind of answer a majority of it?
I think that answers a majority of it. The only real thing I had to ask, has there ever been any moment where you were given, artistic freedom and maybe you just sketched something out that someone walked by and said, "That's good. Let's expand on this."
Oh yeah, yeah, plenty of times. It's been a little bit of a funny thing where we want to make sure we're presenting the best we can, but sometimes we have to make sure we're not jumping the gun. So that way, like, design has time to, actually make mechanics for what this really cool piece of art is, trying to entail. That definitely did happen a couple times when I was at Bob, and people just walked by and be like, "Oh, that's really cool art." Um, Less so now that we're remote, but we do have a lot of like show your work channels. And often or not, there are times where like someone who posts their animation or posts like a side sketch could just completely change how people view things.
That's really, really cool to know.
I can talk about more about that after chapter 4 comes out.
But don't worry, we'll be bothering you again.
So kind of went into this a little bit, like leading off of that question, but again, you probably made tons of scrapped concepts for Poppy Playtime, but have there been some that might be public or ones that, just in general, like you really wanted to make it into the final cut of the game?
So I'm not like, I know there's been some people who have worked at Mob and were very public with their postings. I was
Mhm.
very private with my postings. And a lot of the times there are a lot of early concepts I made that they still want to consider for using in the game. So I couldn't even think of posting them nowadays. Um, but there are, I would say I have 661 items in my exported PNG section. So I think there are some designs in there that could be used. Let alone there were some Project Playtime skins that never really made the cut. Uh, but who knows? Maybe in the future, if we revisit that, they might come again.
I sure hope so. It sounds like a lot of great ideas just sitting there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're ready. We're ready if it happens. I don't know if it's going to happen because I'm just a 2D artist. So that's not my question
Yeah.
answer. I just make things look cool. I don't actually make games.
Well, as long as you're on standby and you're ready to go as soon as you get the
Oh,
thumbs
we're
up.
so ready to go. We have so many people in the 2D section. It's pretty cool.
What has been your favorite character to help design for Poppy?
So I'm biased because I would say something from chapter 4, but I can't talk about chapter 4. So my favorite character to design before chapter 4, it probably would have to be something from Project Playtime because I didn't, while I assisted with some of the chapter 3 final like designs, I didn't completely design them myself. I just
Mm,
finished them. Like for instance, the smiling critter cartoons. I'm the one who made the in-game plush version and what they would look like. Other than that, one of my favorite things to design was the huggy LED emoji face. I don't know if you remember that mask they have as a cosmetic
Oh,
in Project Playtime.
yeah.
Um, because I got to design so many little faces that it would switch to depending on what action you did. Initially, they had just wanted it to be like a face that kind of glitched a couple times. But then I was like, but what if you're, running? What if you're solving and it switches from this face to this face? It was like a way to kind of give a face to these uh, blank character models. And I thought it was really fun to design. Besides, of course, working on, Tree Huggy and Clown Boxy Boo, because I was really excited to hear how people loved it from the community. And that just made it like all the better for me.
so
Project Playtime skins were always something else. That LED Huggy mask, I think, when it was finally given, I think because at some point it was floating around for the longest time.
Mhm.
If you did enough digging in the community, you probably see like mentions of it here and there, or like maybe like the concept just floating around somewhere. But like that cosmetic alone, I still think is so cool because in Dead by Daylight there was a the Killer the Legion, they had a fan art contest, right, where you would be able to design a skin and if it got submitted. For the Legion, someone made a really cool futuristic LED skin for the Legion that like kind of in concept would do everything that you did for the Huggy LED mask. But behavior did not follow through with that really. So it was a big letdown to a lot of people, including the artists themselves. So when that dropped, it probably dropped a little bit later than I think people were hoping for. I still think it's one of the coolest cosmetics ever, and we need more stuff like that. If we ever go back to Project Playtime.
Yeah, it is the curse of making cool things, and then the programmers going, shit, now we have to add code for that cool thing. So it's definitely a pull and tug there.
Yeah. As a character designer, you're always tasked with creating the iconic words that we end up falling in love with each chapter, despite the fact that if they were real, any normal person would be torn apart by them. In Tiber's case, kicked across the room.
rude.
By Huggy. How do you feel seeing your creations come to life in the game itself and how they're portrayed within the story?
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's being able to see the way you envisioned a character come to life because, designing the plushes for the smiling critters, I wanted them to be cute, lovable, just edging on the cusps of being eerie and creepy. I absolutely love, something that rides that uncanny valley. When you go into what are they called? The elimination or subliminal spaces,
Mhm.
and how it just has that subtle edge of eeriness, but you can't quite place what it is about it that makes it so. I love pulling that for characters I've designed. And when you get to see them put into the game, especially with realistic textures, it just feels like, okay, here's a small thing that's crawling towards you really fast and it wants to chew off your leg. Panic. Panic right now. And I don't know about you, but I definitely have that phobia of just small things really chasing me really fast. Uh, but you know, as when you see chapter 4 come out, you can especially know how I put my love and care into them.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned small things chasing you because I played, I think, a Backrooms horror game like probably a month ago, and one of the monsters was a little cursed baby doll, and it would just kind of giggle around the corner, but it was so small you wouldn't be able to see it. And it had weeping angel mechanics too, but
Oh
that
my.
was enough to like keep me on edge like every single room I went into. I don't even know how I got past that level.
Yeah, it's iconic moments like that because you can recall what moments made you so tense. As like alien isolation. It's when you just saw the alien kill your friend and you're at that stupid like monorail door waiting for it to open and the music ramps up into a scare chord and you're just like, I don't know if this alien's right behind me. I don't know if I'm safe. Yeah, I just need to get this door open and I need to leave. And then you get through the door and they just add that little touch where the alien is right there at the door waiting, but then it closes. Or, you know, you go into the Resident Evil where he's in that laboratory with the giant baby mush pile that just kind of grows and starts screaming at you. And you have to kind of maneuver around. And then you go into the trolley cart that goes up and down. And it's slowly coming at you as you're trying to get into that trolley cart.
Oh my gosh.
It's like it's those moments that make you so happy that your character is scaring the shit out of
Hoot!
other people for once.
um Resident Evil 8. I One of my best friends, he's a avid Resident Evil fan. I remember just so vividly when that giant, baby part came up. He was freaking out. I was just laughing at him, I think. We were streaming it together. And he couldn't think of what to do. I feel like if he could punch the button like repeatedly like a madman, he would. Because that thing, it was just going around the table and it's just screaming at you and you don't know where you are. It's so dark, but it's
You're not
coming at you.
child.
Like, who built this elevator shaft? It sucks. It's so damn slow. But yeah, no, that part was amazing.
But yeah, it just makes me so happy to see just like the little smiling critters crawling up to you and just going, and then you shoot it in the face and it's like a rejected little puppy, like, I can say up to chapter 3, I am quite excited to see where all this is going because, you know, we could have just had Poppy kind of stay on the outskirts, you know, as this mystery character. But chapter 3 kind of takes a moment and shows her connection with Kissy, who, you know, we just saw briefly in passing in chapter 2. And so it goes for a moment, you know, these relationships are more developed than you might think, you know, and yeah, just excited to see where it goes.
The story is definitely in a point where there's so many questions that I hope get answered. But it's that chapter 4 is probably the most anticipated part of the story yet, I believe.
I'll tell you some parts you won't expect.
Oh,
And that's all I can say.
Looking forward to that.
me too. I hope uh, there's a shakeup on the chase sequences.
What do you mean? You don't like the A to B chase sequence? Come on.
I I I like a good A to B chase sequence, but like, when the character gets killed off at the end of them, I kind of start, frowning a little bit. Just a little bit. R.I.P. Mr. Light.
Oh, Miss Delight was so much fun.
Yeah.
We were playtesting her for a while, which is another, little tidbit into this is that as we kind of get towards the end of production, everyone starts playtesting. And so we were at that point for chapter 3, I'm sitting there suffering, having to, playtest and relive this horror over and over. And then, a week after it comes out, I'm just sitting there watching every YouTube video, reveling in people's jump scares. Just like, yeah, now you know what it's like.
Right where I can see you. No! Oh God!
I still think we need to revert Mr. Light back.
I can fix her.
They got the baby version. Everyone got the baby version.
Oh
For
my
those that don't
God.
know. But yeah, no, that was Mr. Light was I think she had to be one of the coolest parts of chapter 3. I still stand by it because as much as I love the catnap boss fight, there was just something else about the eeriness about being in the schoolhouse, basically locked in with a teacher that she was kind of friendly, but then you realize she was very much insane.
Oh yeah. And I really loved her sound design too. Just constantly laughing and just watching you.
I don't think I've ever mentioned this because we haven't talked much, Max. But being a beta tester, I actually kind of came across a bug that turns Miss Delight into basically a laughing corpse on the ground.
Oh my God.
And it was the most unsettling thing I've ever run into.
No.
And she still was able to kill. So she was actually doing her canon lore killing method on me.
Oh my God. Yeah. We also had some fun bugs with Miss Delight. There was a moment where she could actually like throat grab you from the wall. Like you got close enough to the wall to her, she would just throat grab you and kill you. And it scared so many of our workers. Especially when there was like a glass. Like we got close to the glass and she just like, bam, you're dead.
That's awesome. Talked a lot about Poppy Playtime, but are there any other games that maybe you'd love to contribute your artistic talents to? Perhaps some other games in the indie horror genre?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's stuff going on in the indie horror genre. I'm pretty min-maxed on Poppy Playtime at the moment, though I
Mhm.
am keeping an eye out on what like Isaac is producing because he's making this other really cool game. I don't know if you've been stalking him on his Twitter, but it's
On and off.
he's been making this a pixelated game, a 3D pixelated game that is about sacrificing stuff to this pit called Elijah. So you're basically a cultist in this world. And we recently had a Halloween party where he showed us a lot of exclusive content about it, and it was so cool. Absolutely loved it.
I know all about. I'm one of the backers for it, so I've
Yeah.
I've tested it. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be good.
Yes, yes. So that's something I'm keeping an eye out on because I would love to play it. Another game I've been kind of keeping my eye out for is not necessarily in the horror genre, but it's Ashes of Creation, which is a because I'm an MMORPG fan from my World of Warcraft phase. And that's just another upcoming MMORPG that people are working on. And it's currently in like the Alpha 2 phase. So, exciting, exciting.
Ooh, it looks pretty.
Yeah, if you look at my Steam page, you wouldn't necessarily think, I'm a horror fan because I play a lot of like micromanagement games and then I watch people play horror games, but I don't play them personally because I can't. I'm too much of a wimp.
No, I understand that because there's some that I won't even touch either. Like, what is it? I think hold on, I have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm going through my Steam page. I have almost 1,000 hours in Warframe, 600 hours in RimWorld, 500 hours in New World, 400 hours in Ark Survival Evolved, 300 hours in Oxygen Not Included, about 207 Days to Die. Those are kind of the games I play.
At Dead of Night's the game I was thinking of. It's very
Oh, no.
realistic. It's well because it's actually like a filmed game that they turned into a game, which it's phenomenal. It's like got a great story, but it's so unsettling and so unnerving that I can watch other people play it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. But it also reminds me a lot of, and most people don't know about this game, but I think it was called Hotel 6 to 6, which was sponsored by Doritos. And I know from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. you could play this game online, and it was a survival horror game that had the same type of concept as At Dead of Night, and it also scared the hell out of me.
Oh my goodness. There's also a recent game that came out that I debated playing, but I was like, no, I don't think I can. Um, it was what was it called? It was on an oil rig where you were an Irishman who had just recently like about to divorce his wife, and the oil rig has like drills into something and it breaks through the entire rig and it starts becoming like part biomass.
I've seen and heard of this game. I just forget its name every single time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man. If I remember it or you remember it, Timbers, feel free to plug it in.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. So Poppy Playtime's being made into a movie, which all of the partners, and of course, I'm sure you are also excited for. If asked, would you take on a role for the movie?
Oh, 100%. I mean, God,
Hoot!
can you imagine me, my chunky face on a 4K screen? I would love it. Oh, but I would happily be an extra as a scientist and just get killed off. I would legit be living the dream right there. Also, I would use that as an excuse just to get on the set and see what they're making for all the like rigs and whatnot. It's like, are we doing real life? Are we doing CGI? Can I take a picture with it?
Can I take it home?
Can I? I'm already planning on making real life plushes of the monsters I've made for chapter 4.
Oh, cool.
Which I'll definitely be posting updates about those after it releases.
I can't wait to see that. But no, I'm in agreement with you too. Like I would love. I don't care if they put my face in a flower pot. That would be fine with me. Like I would love to be part of it, but I also would just really love to go on set and just see everything and be able to be part of that experience, because going on a movie set,
God, yeah.
it's so phenomenal. I had the opportunity of touring when I lived in Florida, Universal Studios backstage when they were setting up their quote unquote Beetlejuice thing that they were going to do before COVID set in, and just walking through that and seeing, or just being in the netherworld and how they had these hallways twisted and how things were going, it was so surreal. I want to see that. I would love to go and experience that. I want that experience that they got, the creators got for FNAF, going and seeing everything and then meeting the animatronics. I would love that so much.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That'd be the dream, you know? And so we'll definitely have to see how it goes once, you know, everything goes into full swing. But you'll definitely be hearing about it if we do.
I sure hope
I'll
so.
be on Twitter just like, oh my god, guys. It's like
Um,
you know, The Walking Dead and how so many people were casted just to be like mob zombies.
Hmm.
I'm
oh
like,
yeah,
that's me. That's me. I'll be any toy you want. Just throw me in there, Chief.
I still wonder how much a role like that pays because they hire a lot of zombies.
Yeah, yeah. You're getting paid by the hour to just shamble and walk around in like 100-degree weather
With makeup
with
all over
makeup.
your face, some more than others. Like that guy who's just missing half his face but has to, shimmy along across the screen.
Oh god. All right, so you're gonna be crawling across hot asphalt in the middle of the street trying to get this guy under this car that's also very hot.
We have an ice bag prepared for you immediately, right before you pass out. So all you have to do is make sure you finish what you gotta do. Yeah, perfectly.
There's someone there spraying you with ice water.
They're under the car with you.
Oh god.
Oh, thanks, Robert. That feels great. Really cooling me down here. That sounds awesome, though. Um, this next question kind of touched upon this a little bit, but once Poppy Playtime comes to, I guess, an end, right? Do you see yourself working on more games, or are you gonna try to bring your character design to other forms of media again?
Oh, I no, my end goal is to make video games. Like
Oh,
that is what I want to do as a passion and art. I tried to get Mob to get in on this idea multiple times, but they just don't want to do it. I want to make a monster farming sim one day. That is one of my goals because I know an MMORPG is just unattainable unless I'm a millionaire. Uh, so I'm gonna settle for a farming sim because one other video game that I grew up with that really just hit home for me and my nostalgia is just Harvest Moon. And oh man, like, you know, people will say, oh, Stardew Valley, Stardew Valley. It's like, back in my day, we had Harvest Moon. But Stardew Valley also hit that kick for me as well. But I just, I really like games that are very cozy and gentle, but also allow you to do kind of like that micromanagement and have and like a pick your own adventure, you know? And I feel like farming sims are very open-minded about that kind of stuff
yeah.
because you could go into the mines and have a horror filled like day, or you could just spend your day min-maxing your crops rotation. Like have fun.
Maximize profit, go in the cave, risk your life, or spend the whole day fishing leisurely.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I definitely if I'm not in a studio, I'll probably make my own studio at some point.
I'm watching that. Like, I'm ready.
I
Same.
am ready, Freddie.
I will be the first to buy the game.
Yes. So many monster designs that I'm just so hyped to make for it. Like werewolf twins, harpies who are like watching cattle, like maybe like a underworld and heaven DLC in the future. Oh my god.
That actually sounds
That
badass.
does sound badass.
Yeah. Because, you know, we have Monster Prom, but I don't feel like you know, besides people who have done, 18 plus versions, no one's really kind of expanded upon the monster dating scene past like, Monster Prom. So I really want to get in on that because there's a lot of people who really love monsters nowadays.
Oh yeah, big time.
Raise his hand in the background.
I love cryptids. I love cryptids. Just like Pim yelling, I love children.
Okay, so you and I have talked a bit about cosplay, and I've seen one of your cosplay photos as Adam from Has Been Hotel. Do you like costuming in the process of creating the look? And also, can you name a character that you really want to cosplay as?
Oh my goodness. So if I could, I would straight up cosplay as a xenomorph. Um, I don't got the body for that, but like, oh man. When I was doing Adam, it was more so because my husband really wanted to do Lucifer. So obviously I needed something to match with him. And so literally like 2 weeks before the convention, I just from start to finish, I make my entire costume. I've done this. I'm horrible at last minute costume making, but I do it every single time. And I love hate myself for it. Like before that, I did the Bog King from Strange Magic. Um, I did that 2 weeks right before going to convention. I straight up made a night costume within 1 week before a convention. I can share some of those images in a second. But it was definitely my cosplay life is very spur of the moment. And I would not recommend anyone else to do that too. But, there's a sense of excitement to be able to do something so last minute and have it look so good that you're just like, yes, I know I'm good.
I know that feeling. I made it a Ghostbusters cosplay after the Ghostbusters film Answer the Call, which was the all female cast. I did the same thing, and within a month's time, I built a proton pack from scrap, programmed it, learned how to code it, learned how to use an Arduino, all these things, and then just casually posted it on Twitter. And the director Paul Feig liked it, and I was like, "What? This looks so bad. Do you like it?"
Yeah, you just start screaming like, why? Why? But also, please notice me.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
And that definitely is a feeling you get when you cosplay. It's just so many people coming together to have this adult Halloween that just allows you to be yourself. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is the lack of judgment people have. That you can just do you.
I think that's the best part of is, even if it doesn't look good, as long as you are happy with it, as long as, it's something you enjoy and you have a connection to it, go for it. Don't worry about other people's opinions. Just do it because you have a connection to whatever you're making, whatever you're wanting to dress up as, or whoever you're wanting to dress up as, and having your artistic realism brought to life. I think regardless of how it looks, that's still a step forward in any direction.
100%. And it also goes to like past just doing like anime conventions. I also go to like the Ren Fair every year. And I dress up as whatever thing I can cobble together last minute. Throw on some elf ears, rip up some of my old clothing, throw on some scraps of, you know, wool and leather and just go out looking cobbled together. As much as I can represent myself looking as mouthwashing, I would love to do that.
I feel that. I think I showed you my orc look. I love doing that, but that's an indoor look. I will never take it outside. I'm sorry, everybody.
Oh my goodness. I did the mistake of that one time. I was trying to get like a nice light color pink, and the pink that I applied was just way too dark. Like the moment any shadow hit my face, it looked like I was just like a red lobster. And I was just like, no, I just wanted to be a fae.
We're down to our last two questions. I have to ask, if you could go back in time and have a chat with Lil Max, what would you tell yourself to prepare for the future?
Invest in Bitcoin. Invest in Bitcoin, you god.
Hoot! Hoot!
And then I'd slap myself around a couple times. No, little Max was sitting on the couch watching TV all day in the middle of a hot Hawaii sun, uh, in the middle of, a large salad bowl of fried rice that my Chinese grandma would make me daily. So little Max didn't have a lot of thoughts going on. But if I could go back and tell him, I'd tell him to, hey, invest in Bitcoin. Nah, I was pretty okay with my upraising because really, there's not a lot of things I could change with how I turned out given the circumstances. But, maybe I would say just, hey, it gets better. Just keep drawing.
That's still sound advice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Little Max was traumatized.
We all have a little trauma of our own, so I mean,
A little piece.
look how
here and
awesome we turned out.
there. Yay! We're so well adjusted, guys.
It was all worth it, I think.
And now we're paying taxes. We did it.
Oh, no, go back.
Go back, go back, go back.
I believe this is the final question, right, Tibbers?
Yep, it is.
It will.
Why'd you do that? That's strike two. That's you know what? I'm going in your Minecraft base later.
Oh no, chat. Whatever will I do?
Okay. So, do you have any advice to anyone who's listening wanting to be an artist, or maybe some sound advice for any aspiring artists that might, be lacking some good old inspiration right now?
A goal, I think, is usually what I like to tell people, Do you figure out what you want to do? Do you want to become an indie studio? Do you want to work for a particular studio? Because, if you want to become an indie studio, you shouldn't just be, trying to pursue these jobs at other studios. You should be going to local game dev meetups, trying to look at people who have just graduated college and reaching out to them and saying, hey, you want to make a video game, try and figure out what's the golden dream that you want. Do you want to become your own developer? Do you want to become a comic book artist? Do you want to work in Japan? Do you want to just become the next VisiPop, I remember when VisiPop was still just drawing comics and slowly building up her fan base. Like, she didn't just appear out of nowhere one day. She worked for like a good 10, 20 years beforehand building up that fan base. And it's just like, you need to have a plan and center that around what your what your main goals are. Because another thing too is like, you want to work at, a game studio. You can't just drop a ball and go work at a AAA studio and expect, to be able to get in unless, your uncle works at said AAA studio. Usually you have to work your way up through like Kickstarter or indie studios before you can even enter the door on AAA. And let alone like if you want to work at World of Warcraft, you shouldn't be drawing stuff from like Has Been Hotel. You should be drawing stuff from World of Warcraft. Like if that's your end goal is to work at like Fortnite or, League of Legends, you have to really look at the artists who are actively working at that studio and just create a portfolio that is like them to be able to get hired by them. It's so much easier to put into perspective once you know what it is you want to do. Because sometimes people just come up and they're like, I just want to make characters. And it's like, that's nice. But why? Like, what is the end goal? Like, why do you want to make characters? Are you doing this for a hobby? Are you doing this for a career? Because a hobby, you know, that's fine and all, but that won't make you cash. If you're doing it for a career, you have to be making enough to, you know, pay your taxes and income, or taxes and bills, not income. But, you know, it's knowing the difference between, is this a career or is this a hobby? Because if it's a career, you're going to have to be able to draw every day for people who are not you. And that's, I think, a big, like, hill people have to climb when they're trying to get in this industry.
That's really good sound advice. It really is.
And if you don't want to draw for other people, then that's fine too. Just become like a convention artist. Start selling your stuff online. Start making comics, you know, little but slowly, if I can words, you'll get there. You'll get there. It's just definitely a time investment. And also network. For the love of Christ, network, please.
Oh yeah, that's a big one too, right?
Oh, it is. That's why I go to a lot of conventions as much as I can.
Yeah, like you might be introverted and it might be harder for you, but that's why you get a friend who can talk for you, who's basically your salesman. And then you get them and you take them to all these conventions and help them promote you. That's why you see people at conventions who have other people running the booth and it's not just the main artist all the time. I was gonna say, if anyone ever wants more like professional art advice, by all means, message me on Twitter, and I will give you the whole rundown of what I've learned.
That's one of those people's gonna be me.
Yay!
There's the offer for anyone else who really wants it and might be struggling right now. So, good old Max got you.
Good old Poppy Max, tell you a thing or two.
Well, Max, thank you so much for meeting with us today and donating your time to do this interview. I appreciate it. I know SirSmirkz probably appreciates it as well.
Absolutely.
And SirSmirkz as well. Thank you so much for joining me and doing this. I really appreciate you. Where can the people listening find either of you on the internet?
Well, I'm primarily only on Twitter. You know how I said I deleted previous profiles? Well, my current profile is on Twitter, Max Voidcore. I don't do Instagram. Ew.
Babe, I don't even know how to use Instagram.
What about you, SirSmirkz? Where can people find you?
I'm kind of like a mystery. I kind of just pop up.
Yes.
I'm rolling my eyes at that comment.
What do you mean?
I will
It's
make
both
sure.
the little introverted cryptids.
I'm just crawling around on the wall. Okay? I'm just listening. I'm a fly. I'm like that one plant you forgot you put in the window. I'm just absorbing all of the horror and like you're just gonna peel back the curtain one day and I'm like just decayed, rotting, like please throw me out. Sunburns.
Please.
I'm dehydrated.
Well, thanks again, Max. We appreciate you so much and everything that you do. Thank you for creating this awesome world that we get to be part of.
Yes, and I'm so excited when you guys get to play chapter 4. I am writhing on the inside because like my characters are in it and I just really want to see your guys' reaction. So please send it to me.
Absolutely.
Oh, I absolutely will.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with your friends. It'd be truly appreciated. You could also leave a comment below. Let me know who you'd like to see on the channel next in an interview. I am very curious and would love to get them scheduled. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the channel. It's always appreciated. But until next time, everybody, stay safe out there, make good choices, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.